Hello and welcome back to campaign strategy playthroughs. Continuing my Aeon's End Legacy of Gravehold campaign. When we last left off, we had a pretty resounding victory against the Bishop of Souls, and we've now moved on to number 2. We headed east towards the town of Aeon, met a couple other mages on the way that were concerned about something going on. So we headed to Aeon and discovered that the village was mostly abandoned, but there was a giant portal opened. But even before that happened, story-wise, had a chance to spend some experience to do some upgrades. So I'll just run through what I did there. First up, I spent 5 experience to add this to the Azer section of the map. So this only applies when I'm playing the Azer faction. At the start of the game, after the supply is set up, boost 2 cards in the supply. So it's after it's set up, so that's cards on top I'm going to get to kick off right off the bat. And in keeping with that theme of trying to really work on boosting, I spent 4 experience to upgrade a crystal. I put a sticker on there. So this allows me, I can either gain the one or I can boost a card in my hand. So, and I can, as long as it's got, here, if you take a look again, it's got the faint blue icon of the Azer, so I can use this anytime I'm playing an Azer mage. I'm going to slot this into Kel's starting hand, so we'll pull out a regular crystal, put that in. For this one, so I've got 6 mages to choose from. I decided I want to keep going with Kel and Ilya, and the other thing I did is here, so you can see this, I decided to spend 4 experience to upgrade Kel. Now I know strategically this is not the optimal decision because something like this crystal is going to carry over to any Azer, whereas any Azer mage I play, whereas this upgrade only works when I'm playing with Kel. But I really like the synergy between these two, and even if it's just for a game, when Ilya casts 4 more spells during her casting phase, we did that a couple times last game, and I'm sure if I'm focused on it, I can do it even more. You gain a gem or relic from the supply and place it into your hand. So I just like the idea of that. If like a focus this game, at least for Kel, is I'm going to be trying to boost some of these cards. So I think even though that ability I may not get to use that often in that many games, I do think that I can make it worthwhile. Because if I can get these 2 relics boosted quite a bit, could be really effective. We'll see. But I wanted to try something perhaps a little atypical. So I'm playing with Kel and Ilya again. I decided I did want to give Q her opportunity to see how she plays like. And again, I still feel like story-wise, it seemed more like this group of 4 were the ones focused on trying to help out whatever's going on in Aeon. And what is going on in Aeon? Well, there are actually 2. This is the paradox of myth and bone. So there are actually 2 enemies that we need to fight. And you can see they've got separate decks. So we've got myth and bone are the 2 different ones. They each have 40 life. They've got their own life tracker. And we just have to defeat one of them. And the ending is variable based on who we defeat. So there are some interesting mechanics, though, that govern that. The unleash effects. So, and the other change that was made is, so within the Nemesis deck, there are actually specific cards for Myth and for Bone. So they'll each get to take a separate turn. And so just going over the rules. So when Myth unleashes, if Myth has more life than Bone, Bone gains 3 life. Otherwise, Bone unleashes. And when Bone unleashes, Gravehold or any player suffers 2 damage. So, which can be pretty nasty if that happens a lot. So, you can knock Bone down but that means things are going to take longer because Bone's going to keep gaining life, or you can just focus on Myth, trying to get Myth down. We'll see. Again, I mean, I'll probably... what it also means, now that I'm thinking about it, is I'm not really going to be going heavily after the boss, but it does mean that I'm going to have to give some effort to throwing some damage on the boss, and not just minions. Though, I haven't looked at the Nemesis decks. I don't know what kind of minions we might be facing, but my usual strategy of just ignore the boss until the end game, probably not going to work here. So the one other really interesting rule of note is it says you can spend 3 Aether to remove a power token from a Nemesis card, just not the last one. Usually power tokens coming off is bad. It's a bad thing, so maybe it can be a good thing. We'll have to see. They do not have a maximum life, so like if I knock, if I knock Bone down to 39, it gains 3 life. It can go up to 42, so that'll be something to keep an eye on as well. And there's some other rules for if a hero a mage gets exhausted, but let's hope that doesn't happen. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Oh, just actually, yeah, before I even do that, so supply-wise, I decided to try both new gems, as well as and here, I'll just pop these up again. So we've got the Void Steel Vein, gain 2, and you can discard when an ally casts a spell that costs 1 or more. If you do, that spell deals 2 additional damage. And then we've got the Frozen Light, gain 3. You may discard this during any ally's turn. If you do, they gain 1 charge, and you gain 1 charge. With these added abilities for adding charges, I definitely considered boosting up the Leviathan Shell. But I still feel like there's 7 in the deck. I don't know how heavy I want to go into it. I think I'm more interested in what are the gains? Like, potentially, you could have a 5 cost that gives you 4, which is good, but the amount of effort I'm going to have to put into it, I'd rather have a 5 cost that gives you 3, but has a nice special ability. And then the other is the Brimstone Battery, right? This lets you do some deck thinning, and you can boost it when you get rid of something that costs 3 or more. Once you have it fully boosted, so marked twice, then I can attach it to any player's breach, and whatever spells cast from there, Gravehold gains a life. So it seems could be really good. So now, at the start of the game, right, I have my Gravehold ability. I do get to boost 2 cards, so I'll go ahead and boost the Battery. I will boost the Shifter Cloak. And I do have 2 Shifter Cloaks at the bottom that are fully boosted, right, if you remember from last game. I've got... and I did, going back and watching the video, realized that there was a time where that one I thought I only had boosted once had actually effectively boosted it twice. So those go on the bottom of the deck, though, as per the rules. And now we are ready to shuffle up the turn order deck and see who goes first. I'm going to try very hard this game to not forget and leave the die there. So shuffling up, and then let's roll. It's 6. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on top. And so the first player is going to be Kel. And I decided to keep the order the same. I put the wild token on the start of Ilya. It seemed to work out well enough last game. So Kel is going to kick things off. All right, so my goal this game, I think, with Kel is, like I said, I really want to focus on trying to boost these. So I'm going to be aggressively trying to do that. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'll play the Entangled Tourmaline, which, just to remind you, gain an Aether, and you can trade cards in hand with Ilya, 1 card. So we'll play that. We'll send the Spark over to Ilya, get a crystal back, because I only have 1 open breach. We will prep Split Soul, which, again, deals 1 damage, and if you're Kel, it also produces an Aether. So we'll have an extra Aether next turn if we cast that. And That's going to leave us with 4 Aether, so I will go ahead and buy a battery. And so that I'm going to be drawing with all these cards, including the crystal that is going to allow me to boost it again. So right off the bat, it'll be fully boosted, and if I want, and I may, I can put it on a breach. So we'll see how that goes. But I think that's a pretty strong opening to get going. That is going to do it for Kel's turn. Next up, we have... All right, Ilya. So nice to be able to get some... early on, I guess it doesn't matter that much when the minion goes. It's not like you can do anything about it. But it's almost more beneficial for the minion to go first, maybe, because you have an idea of what you're facing. But I love the turn order mechanic in this game. I think it's great. Just such a simple mechanic, well thought out. All right, so we'll prep a Spark. We'll prep the Sacred Heart, which in Ilya's hands does 2 damage, leaving us with 3 to spend. And I'll get to, again, I don't know what kind of things I'm going to be facing, but I know I want to be able to put out some damage. And I also love this was really useful last game, sending over Aether tokens, right? The Aether Ripple. So deal 2 damage, each ally gains an Aether token. So we'll go ahead. Yeah, this is another reason too why, there's a bunch of reasons I wanted to play 3-handed. I know playing 2 with 2 mages is generally easier because every mage is going twice around, so you're able to move through your deck faster than the minion is in terms of adding new cards, tweaking. 4, again, I don't really have the table space for it. It's a bit too much to manage. So 3 seems like a nice in between. And also the other thing, playing with 3, you get to take more advantage of abilities like the Aether Ripple that affect your allies. So that is how we're going to start off Ilya's turn. And Ilya is done. So now, all right, we'll go back to Q. Nothing on the board yet. So Q is going to go ahead and prep a Spark. And now let's take a look. First time playing Q at Q's special card. One of them starts with the Oblivion Load, which is to resolve their builder token, then flip it over. So obviously we'll play that. We'll grab the builder token, which is, right now it's just gain 1. So basically we've got 4 to spend. In the future, the builder token is going to gain 1 plus an additional Aether equal to the Nemesis tier. Again, that's whatever the top discard pile is. I guess playing with both of them, I'm not sure which number that is. If it's the higher one or lower one, I'm going to guess probably the harder level that's shown up is going to be the one, but maybe I will look that up and double check at some point. But so we'll flip the builder token. All right, so we resolve the effect, then we flip it. So we've got 4 to spend, and I'm gonna need to get some of these breaches open for Q before building up spells. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna get a Void Steel Vein to just kind of start getting the economy going there. We'll keep this here, knowing it's gonna be able to produce 2. So we actually, we're gonna 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're actually gonna be able to produce 7 next round. So that's pretty impressive. And then Q's ability, which I actually only takes 4 charges, and Q gets to any ally draws 2 cards, then any player destroys up to 2 cards in their hand or discard pile. So that's something. Deck building or deck thinning abounds this game. All right, Nemesis would be good, so we can kind of see what we're facing. Yes. So Myth. Let's see what you got for us. First card in the Myth deck is going to be, and these are not. So the first game, it was the turn order. The order was structured in terms of what cards you were going to face. And I did this game in a 3-player game. Remember to remove the correct amount of cards. Last game, I was supposed to flip 3 cards off the top of the deck, so we would have gotten into the things would have accelerated a little more quickly. But let's face it, that game wasn't particularly close. The minions ability doesn't actually do anything in the game. It affects you in the future, but not really, because through good play was only let 1 minion name itself. It was still going to be 5. So I could have let 4 more minions name themselves. And I think 1 more should have, based on another mistake I made, but it wouldn't have been any different on the campaign or the outcome of the game. So anyway, going back to here, the Awakened Megalith. So this is a myth persistence. It only happens on myth's turn. Any player suffers 1 damage. The nemesis with the lower life gains 3 life. Oh god, that's annoying. Add a fire token to your location on the map. And it's got 7 health. So it makes sense that these are going to be tougher because there are... because they only get to go, half the amount of time. Although I can imagine there's probably going to be some crazy shenanigans where one gets to trigger the other, maybe. Who knows? One of the things I really enjoy, too, about the campaign style is, not knowing everything. Not looking through the deck. Everything's new to me. Especially this game, there are no... these decks are composed entirely of cards for this encounter. So you're not using any of the basic Nemesis cards. Upgraded or otherwise. Okay, pretty straightforward. That was Myth's turn. So now we have the Wild. So it is going to be Kel. Sorry, not Kel. It's going to be Ilya. All right, so let's see. Look at my options. Figure out how I want to approach this. Okay, so I've got my first decision, which is... Sorry, I'm going to cast these. Definitely with the Sacred Heart, I'm going to do 2 damage... to the minion. Now the question is, do I hit Bone with the Spark to kind of bring him down a bit, so that, because as it stands right now, when Myth unleashes, it's going to be a Bone Unleash, which is going to be 2 damage to a player in Gravehold. But here's my thinking. I'm actually going to do the damage to the minion. I'm just looking at the damage on the table. I've got 1, 2, 3... and I'll be putting down 2 more sparks. That's 5 damage. That's enough to kill that. So if I set things up that way, this guy will only get 1 activation. And if I'm lucky and I manage to draw Ilya before I draw Myth for next round, which is definitely possible, then... or depending on how I manage to prep on future turns, I may be able to take it out and prevent it from activating at all. So I think that is worth it. So I will go ahead and cast a Spark on here, knocking it down to 4. I'm going to prep 2 Sparks and then get the economy going. I'm going to spend 3 to buy a Nebula Shard, which can be incredible with Ilya, right? So just reminding you, the Nebula Shard, gain 2 or gain 1 for each spell you cast during your casting phase this turn. I'd actually, with her ability, right, is you look at the top 4 cards of your deck, take any spells there, and you can prep them. You can prep up to 2 spell to every breach. You can prep them to breaches that haven't been opened. So multiple times I was able to cast 6 spells in 1 turn, and then play the card I just bought, which is still up here, to play the shard to then gain 6, and maybe this game I'll even be able to get up to 8, and then just charge her back up. So really good card for her. I've spent these 3. We'll throw it down like that. Let's see. I'm going to draw these 5 next. Then I'm going to... yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to draw the 5 and 5. Okay. So that's it for Ilya. I guess technically she doesn't flip yet. Okay, so now we're going to see what Bone has to offer us. And Bone's action is Thicket Gibber. All right, 2 shields, 5 health. Bone's persistent. Bone unleashes. If Bone has less life than Myth, any player discards a prep spell and adds a fire token. Oof. These guys are rough. I'm kind of almost wishing I had held on to that staff that gets rid of fire tokens and also can silence minions, because so far, not loving this. Yeah, so slide this guy a little bit farther down. The other thing I'm going to do is just to make sure I don't forget, and I think I was pretty good about it last turn, about always remembering to draw a card, because a lot of times you're dealing with the persistent abilities and they may spawn new things into play, and it can be easy to forget to actually draw one of these cards off the deck. So little reminder to myself, I'll put down the next card in the deck, so that I know when they take another turn that I'm going to need to draw it. So 2 shields for that guy and 5 health. All right, and I had forgotten to draw Ilya's hand, so I took care of that. Then that is the end of round 1. I also realized Bone's Unleash ability is not as awful as I thought. For some reason, I read it as a player takes 2 and Gravehold takes 2. It's either or. As things stand right now, when this thing fires off, they still have the same amount of life, so it'll only do the first part, which is Bone will Unleash, which will be the 2 damage, but it won't then create a fire token. So, yeah, I still don't really have a handle on where I want the damage to go yet. I think I can't really think about it right now. I don't really have the ability to control it. I need to control these minions before I think about going after the boss. All right, I'd say that's suitably well shuffled, and I've rolled a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Start of round 2 is going to go to Q, and I forgot to pass the wild token. That should be on Kel, as that always gets passed to the left. So Q's up. Stick to the plan, which is to take this out. So we'll drop a damage there, and this time, so Q's now got the Corrupted Vein, which is resolve the destroyed token, then flip it over. So the destroyed token, first the initial resolve is gain 1 and 1 charge. So already she's powering up, and we are going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 this round. We'll prep the spark. Just showing you the flip side is less effective. It's just gain 1. So basically that's as they go back and forth. One side just produces 1, the other either produces an extra or gives you a charge token. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the minions are coming out. They're looking pretty scary. I did get some economies, so now let's get some damage. We'll grab a new douse. And we'll throw that. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the question looking at this hand is going to, I mean, we want to keep the Destroyer going. So keep the Corrupted Vein. The more often I can play it, the better. And hopefully soon I'll also be able to start getting some cards out of here. So that's Q's turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, right. Got a big production turn coming up next. Let's see what is next up is Bone. All right, so we are going to resolve the Thicket Gibber. Its special ability. Bone Unleashes. So again, I'm just going to read everything over again. Bone Unleash. Gravehold or any player suffers 2 damage. So I think I'll just start with Kel, who will eventually, once I pass over the Sacred Heart from Ilya, will allow Kel to gain life. So that'll happen at some point. In the meantime, we'll just take the 2 damage. Then, if Bone has less life than Myth, any player discards a prep spell and add a fire token to any location, to your location on the map. So currently both have the same life, so that doesn't happen. So we will draw and resolve an attack. Charge. Bone unleashes again. All right, this is going to be something. Ilya takes 2 damage. Add a fire token to your location. So we'll just drop the fire token up here for now. If Bone has less life than Myth, Add 2 power tokens to the oldest power in play. Oh, yeah. So, okay. Clearly, power tokens coming off is going to be a good thing. We'll have to see what that has in store for us. All right. In an event, that doesn't happen because they still have the same life. So that card is discarded. Off view of the camera, but I can see it. And that does it for Bone's turn. So now it is mid-turn. But unfortunately, it is going to trigger. All right. Any player suffers 1 damage. The nemesis with the lowest life gains 3. Add a fire token to your location to the map. Lots of bad stuff. All right. So I'll do the fire token first. I'm assuming since they both have the same life, I can decide who wants to go first. I'm going to double check the map to see if that's the case. I also, before I forget, I'll just do 1 damage to Q. So let's see. Yeah, it says when an effect affects a nemesis, the players choose which. So I think in this case, I probably have to choose one of them. So I'm actually going to give the 3 life to Bone because I think it's a lot worse. Maybe when Bone is... we'll have to see if things get dire. But, so that is... That, God, and that was just that. We haven't even revealed the card yet. Jeez. All right. Graven Zephid. Bone gains 3 life. Add a power token to the oldest power in play. And it's got shields. And it's got 5 life. Already feel like the difficulty has ramped up significantly. I don't know if my plan to focus on boosting is really going to work too well because I got so much to deal with. Again, I have to remind myself they only get to go once around, so it's not... Of course, the power is going to be more ability or going to be more powerful. They're going to be harder to kill, but it's kind of hard to wrap my head around still at this point. Let's drop an extra card out just so we don't forget for our future activations. At least both nemesis have gone, right? We've got 3 cards left in the deck so far. Okay, so I just realized that I made that mistake again where I flipped a 3 and I had Hugo instead of Ilya. However, it wouldn't have mattered. Nothing would have changed in terms of what I was doing. Everyone's going to get to go... whether Ilya had gone or Q had gone first, the nemesis all gone, so it doesn't really matter. I wasn't going to be able to take out... The only way I was going to be able to take this guy out was if everybody managed to get a turn. So I conceptualized that wrong before. But either way, no harm, no foul. We'll try and keep a more careful eye on that. Okay, so Kel's up. Right, so deal 1 damage. If you are Kel, gain 1. So that's now going to knock this from 3 down to 2. Right, because Ilya had done 3 damage, then there was 1 damage done here, and another damage here, so that's a total of 5. So now we're where we need to be. Okay, yeah, so Kel is able to produce 4. I'm going to go ahead and get a Void Steel Vein. I just... maybe would like to get it doused, but I feel like I'm a little bit behind here on getting breaches opened. I'm just not in a position to do it. But hopefully if we get the income up a bit, we shall see. All right, that does it for Kel's turn. Next up is going to be Kel again. So now I know Ilya is going to go next, so I'll just fire this off. And I guess which of these baddies do I want to take out first? They're both pretty annoying. All right, I mean, this one certainly seems worse right now, so we'll focus on that one first. That's the damage. Now we can do some stuff. Yeah, the interesting thing is whether or not I want to get that Sacred Heart. It's a little earlier than I want to go over because the extra damage is good, but if I'm dealing with shields, how good is the extra damage? Also, I'm taking a lot of damage incoming, so being able to start gaining life back. But I don't know if I can afford to give up a crystal and do everything I want to do, so I'm going to take a closer look at my hand and figure it out. Yeah, okay, so I think for Kel, it's pretty important that, that I kind of stay the course here. I'll get that spell transferred over later. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play my specialized crystal that allows me to boost a card. So I'm not going to gain anything from it, but I am going to be able to boost up the Brimstone Battery. So now it's fully boosted, so now I could attach it to a breach, which is going to allow that breach to heal Gravestone. But I can use it for its other ability. Any player may destroy a card in their hand or discard pile. Think on that for a second. In the meantime, I'm going to spend 3, and I'm going to get a Shifter's Cloak. So that's in play. And that one I'm going to want to pair up with that. So if I start healing Gravehold as I cast spells, that's definitely going to minimize the amount of damage. But I feel like I'm not quite ready. But also, am I ready to destroy a card in hand? Let me figure it out. All right, Gravehold hasn't taken any damage yet. I can probably wait around. Yeah, so I think for now I'm going to use it, and I'll play it here, and I'm going to destroy a Spark. So we'll thin a bit there. And then for Kel, so we do have 3. We're going to get... Oh, right, we already purchased that. So that's in there. We'll make sure the crystal's right next to it. 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3. So it's a question of what else do I want in that hand. I think... Well, we'll want to get the Brimstone Battery out. I'm probably not going to be passing anything yet, so we'll do Crystal next. Okay. Kind of delay that a little bit. So that does it for Kel. And now, finishing up is going to be Ilya. So Ilya will fire off both of her sparks, which is going to take out a minion. That took some effort, but we got it done. And we'll drop down a couple more spells. Spend 3. I think we're going to get another Shifter's Cloak. We need to... money's tight here. This will help us get these breaches open more quickly. So that's it. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that is the end of round 2. So far, so not so terrible. 2 fire tokens. That's not great. But we'll manage those things when we're able. All right. Start player, or turn order, is going to go to Bone. Okay, so first up, if Bone unleashes, so when Bone unleashes, now we will go ahead and just do 2 damage to Gravehold. So there's a point to healing it. If Bone has less life than Myth, which does not, any player discards prep spell and add a fire token. So, okay. Bone's effect is an attack. Bone unleashes. All right, we'll do 2 more damage to Gravehold. Add 2 power tokens, which there are none. If Bone has less life than Myth, Bone gains 2 life. That is not the case. So, just an unleash. Well, these cards do a lot. That's for Bone. All right, 1 is key. I'm sitting here, I'm like 1, 2, 3 is what I keep doing. I think next game I may switch to 1 and 3, though then I'll probably just get confused again. All right, so we've got 1 damage here, so we'll take out the other shield. And then, I mean, this one's pretty straightforward. We got the Void Steel Vein to gain 2. The Oblivion Lore, well, here. So we're gaining 5. The Oblivion Lore is going to resolve the Builder token and then flip it. The Builder token is on the fun side. So the Nemesis tier is just 1. So that's gain 2. Plus the 5 we had is 7. And these shields are annoying. So let's go ahead and grab a Paradigm Flux. And let's just see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Plus 2 more. So let's go ahead and get these 2 in. Put the regular crystals on top. And that will do it for Q. Pretty good turn. Draw another one here so we don't forget. Next up is going to be Kel. All right, Kel, also the Void. I should remember too when I'm dealing damage that I've got these Void Steel Veins. Just got the 1 spell. This is the one that gives Kel 1 damage plus 1 extra Aether. And we have 5 to spend, so I think I'm really going to focus with Kel on being able to, we're not quite ready to buy the more expensive stuff. Backfire would be pretty good, but I'm not dealing in charges yet. So I'm going to go ahead and get a Frozen Light while I have an opportunity. The question is, do I want to combine? So I'm looking at these. That's my next hand. This hand is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so this is really interesting. Something to think about is, since I know I'm going to be getting the Entangled Tourmaline with the Frozen Light, that means, well, or with whatever I buy this turn, I will be in a position to pass it over to Ilya. So the better question would be, do I want Ilya to have a Frozen Light, or do I want to get a Backfire, which I'm then going to pass over here? I mean, Ilya, we're going to start getting in position to open more breaches. That would definitely ramp up our damage production. All right, I think I'm going to stick with the Frozen Light for now. That way, also, if there's... The other thing that I need to think about, right, is apparently at some point I'm going to be water pulling power tokens off, and that's going to cost 3 Aether. So let's keep the economy going. That's what I'll buy. I'll keep it paired with the Void Steel so I have the potential for a big hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. That does it for Kel. Now it is Myth's turn. So, first up, Bone gains 3 life, add a power token to the oldest power in play. Yeah, well, it certainly seems like Myth is going to be the easier one to kill. Which means I'll probably want to try and kill Bone if we can make that happen, but we'll see. Stoic Judgment. When a minion's persistent effect is resolved, that minion gains 1 life. Okay, this may cause it to have more than starting life. Immediately, Myth unleashes. So, when Myth unleashes, I have to remind myself, if Myth has more life, it doesn't. Bone gains 3 life, otherwise Bone unleashes. So now Bone unleashes. Alright, I'll just pop 2 more damage. I guess I'll put it on Gravehold for now. That's down to 24. Yeah, we're going to need to get some more of these batteries going. So then it's got power 5. If Bone has less life than Myth, Bone gains 4 life. So nothing really happens, but as long as this thing's in play, when a minion's persistent effect is resolved, that minions gain 1's life. That's annoying. So yeah, I could see where we wouldn't want that thing to stick around. So interesting. So it's not necessarily that something good happens when we get rid of it, but it's that something bad stops happening. And yeah, those tokens are only going to come off once a round. So I can understand why, if we want to control, want to buy that down. It's going to be an interesting thing to weigh in this game. We still, because right now, may just have to let the minions get extra life, because I really, if I'm gonna spend 3 extra and I'm not gonna buy something, then I need to be working on breaches, I think. We'll see. But I do like how much this is giving me to think about. All right, Ilya. So Ilya is in a position. So first off, we're gonna go with the Aether Ripple, which is. Oh yeah, I keep forgetting how good this is, and I need to buy more of them. So it's 2 damage, which we'll do here. The Sacred Heart is going to be able to throw down 2 damage, 1 + 1 additional. So this thing's almost dead. Okay. We're doing a Spark. We've got the Nebula Shard. Cast 2 spells. It's worth 2 anyway, so we haven't got the benefit there yet. But it's 2, 3, 4, 5. Unless we want to pass the Nebula Shard over to Kel. It's worth considering. So let me take a quick look and see if there's any machinations I can pull off here. Machinate indeed. Yeah. Rather than explain everything I'm thinking, I'll just let you see when we get to Kel's turn. But I figured I'm going to pass the Nebula Shard over to Kel. Pass this back here. That way Kel is going to have a little bit of extra production, which is going to allow me to do what I want to do on her turn. So I've got 4 to spend. All right. And having given up my production, I think I got to get one of these back. So, although, no, you know what? I do have, eventually Kel's going to be passing over potentially one of these. So, I got to start buying some more spells, I think. And we'll get to the breaches, but I'm going to go ahead and buy a douse. Okay. 3, 4, 5. Okay. Last but not least, it is the wild, which means it is. Once again, I removed that token. So it is. It's Q's turn again, and if you ever forget, like, so 1, 2, 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. So, we played through 3 rounds. And on round 3, it would be on Q. So Q is going to take the extra turn. And let's take a look. We have a couple spells, a Corrupted Vein. So we'll start with the Corrupted Vein, which is going to resolve the Destroyer token, which just gives us +1. So we've got 4 to spend. We're in a situation where we do not have an open breach, so I'll go ahead and spend 2 to focus this so that I can drop spells on both of them, put the Spark there in case I want to hang on to the douse for some reason. So that was 2 of the 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 2 more, which I guess I could get a charge, or yeah, I'll get a charge. I could focus this again, but that ability is going to really come in handy, I think. So let's get closer to firing it up. Okay, so got some big stuff coming up. That is the end of the round. We'll see what we have to deal with. Okay. 3. 1, 2, 3. Bone. We were so close to taking this thing out. Alright, Bone unleashes, so somebody's taking damage. We'll throw 2 on Q. Bone doesn't have less life, so we don't do any of that. We do reveal that. Sorry. Bone unleashes. Any player discards a prepped spell. If Bone has less life than Myth. Bone unleashes, which it doesn't. But Bone does unleash, taking 2 damage off of Kel. Okay, that's Flail. I do have to discard a prep spell. Ilya is more like, doesn't matter, they're both going to get to go. This round, it doesn't really matter who goes before them, so I'll just discard from there. Alright, it is Ilya's turn, so we'll go ahead. Just a little bit too late, but we'll take that guy out. So that's on Bone's side, and then she's going to be able to prep a couple sparks. Yeah, I wasn't really going to be in an old position, but I can at least get some stuff a little bit closer. And I've got 2 here, so I will go ahead and buy a charge for Ilya. And then with the Shifter's Cloak, just a question of which breach I want to rotate. I do want to get something closer to opening. So let's go over here. If we want to maximize it, yeah, let's go for a damage breach. Okay. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I should be getting some more of these Aether things out to keep that going. All right, over to here. All right, just a quick backtrack before we get to Q's turn. All right, this guy should have gained a life from this when he activated. So he's actually not dead from the spark. Kel's going to get to go before he gets to go again, so that's fine. In terms of over here, okay, so with Key, I think what I'm going to do is I am going to just go ahead and douse to take out a shield. It's less than optimal, but I mean, at that point, right, I might as well just kill this thing then. 1 damage either way. So that takes out that guy. And then I can spend, I'm going to be flipping the builder token, so I just get 1 from it this round, but I've got the Void Steel Vein. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to allow me to focus my number 4 breach. So we can put that there for reasons. I think probably by the time Key goes again, we're going to have opened that breach. And actually, wow, okay. So I may be able to do some pretty nifty stuff depending on how things work out. Really, as it often does, depends on the flip of the cards. Let's see who's next. All right, it's Kel. Yeah, I'm going to be able to do some really good stuff here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my crystal to boost a card. Oh, first, deal 1 damage if you are Kel, so gain 1, and I'll just take one of these tokens to remind myself. So the 1 damage, not that it really matters for what I'm planning on doing, but all right, it takes out a shield, but if this works out the way I think, I reserve the right to throw that damage on a boss instead. So let me just work it through. So I'm going to use the crystal to... I didn't even need to, but... Because it's going to... Yeah, actually, I don't need to. I may hold on to the crystal. I'm going to play the Shifter's Cloak to focus any player's breach. So I am going to focus this breach, which is going to open it. And that's +1 damage. So now, if this breach is open this way, boost this card. So yeah, I don't even have to spend the 1. I just get to boost it. All right, and then if this card is fully boosted, cast any player's prep spell. It deals 1 additional damage. So I am going to cast this spell, which is cast, remove up to 2 shield tokens from minions, deal 5 damage. So yeah, so I can pop. I'm just going to pop this damage. My gut tells me don't let these guys get too far apart. So I'm going to hit, instead of taking off a shield with that previous cast, I'm just going to plink plink the boss for 1. Then this cast is going to take these 2 off. The Paradigm Flux deals 5 damage. It's actually going to deal 1 extra, overkill. But, yeah, that was pretty effective. Managed to kill this guy. I don't think he activated since this came out. No, but even if he had any other extra life, he'd be dead anyway. So, yeah, that was really effective. And actually, even before I do that, just slightly backtracking, I'm going to attach the Brimstone Battery to this. It says, attaches to any player's breach. When a spell is cast from this breach, if this card is fully boosted, which it is, Gravehold gains 1 life. So Gravehold is going to gain a life for casting off of there. Okay. Now, I have 1... how many spells have I... During the casting phase, I only cast 1. But even if it had been 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, potentially 5 if I don't want to hold this. Yeah, let me think for a sec. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Since I'm not using it for the boost, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend 4 of that to buy another Brimstone Battery. So that I can continue charging stuff up, boosting things. I'll put the crystal there. I've got 2 left, so we'll go ahead and grab a charge. No, I'm going to focus. Might as well do some of our own work to focus breaches, not just rely on things like the cloak. This is going to go next to the battery. And let's just see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, yeah, it doesn't matter. These 3 are all getting drawn together. So the order I put them in makes no difference. But, another strategic trip that you're seeing me doing there, like, pay attention to what cards are going to be grouped together. You're not necessarily going to remember what was in your deck once you put it there, but you can at least... You can always count the cards in your deck. You can always look through your discard pile. Can't change the order, but you can look through it and figure out your planning that way. So... that's going to do it for Kel's turn. It's going to be there's a lot of stuff I can spend next turn. Next time Kel goes. Now it's Myth's turn, so I'm glad to say that we managed to get rid of that guy. So do get to take a token off of the Stoic Judgment. And let's see what we got. All right, when a player or Gravehold suffers damage during Bones Unleashed, they suffer an additional damage. That's annoying. Immediately, Myth unleashes, which means Bone unleashes, which means 3 damage. Yeah, I could see where maybe you would want Bone to be lower. All right, Power 5. Any player discards a card in hand when it goes off. Not a big deal. The real problem here is that extra damage, so that might be... We might want to start buying that down. Get rid of that sooner than later. Myth's going to have another card come in play. I hope there aren't too many of these power cards in play, because boy, I don't know where I'm going to put them. We'll figure it out, but... okay. That was Myth's turn. So now it is the Wild, which is Ilya. Alright, I got a couple sparks and a bunch more spells, so no reason not to cast these. Yeah, I'm just going to draw down Bone to 43, keep those close, and maybe at some point I do want to take Bone a little bit lower. That gives me a reprieve from damage, as long as there are none of these effects that trigger for Bone. Alright, So now I'm in a position, yeah, I've got, I think now's the time. Prep these 2 spells, play the Entangled Tourmaline, and I'm going to pass the Sacred Heart over to Kel, so that Kel can start gaining some life back. And then just a question of which of these things I want in response. If I pass over the Frozen Light, I can produce 5. I can get myself a Backfire, which seems like a good idea. So I'm not going to think too hard about it. That's what I'm going to do. Was my plan to pass this to Ilya anyway. So, and again, you know, it's together with the Tourmaline. I can always pass it back. I love the mechanic of between the 2 of these, especially playing solo, controlling both of them. I think it'd also be fun if you were playing with another player, but you'd also have to be like, well, what do you think about doing this? And I guess if it's just 2 of you playing, that's fun. Would not be the fun to be the third wheel in that group. You know, I would feel very bad for Q if there were an actual player playing her, having to just sit there and wait while Kel and Ilya playing back and forth. But very cool mechanic. It's also nice that if you buy a card to actually, put it in your discard pile. So we'll do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So yeah, this is something I didn't pay enough attention to last game. I really need to adjust my field of view here, show you what's in everybody's hands. But so now I've drawn the Shifter Cloak, right? So many times I ended up playing it and not being able to open a breach, so I wasn't able to. I did end up boosting them, both of them, by the end of the game, but I want to pay more attention to it. So as I go through, of course, I'm saying all this now. Ilya will probably just end up going next, but if not, if I get an opportunity to get somebody else's breach, like one of Kel's breaches in the nearly open position, set it up so that Ilya can open it with the Shifter's Cloak. So I'm going to pay more attention to that this time. We're going to begin round 5. Shuffling up as per usual. 6. I feel like I've been rolling high on all these. Not that it means anything, but just a little extra randomization. Awesome. So Kel goes first. So I'm definitely going to be spending 2 to focus that, and we'll not forget about that. We'll drop down the Sacred Heart so we can start getting some life back. All right. As things stand right now, I'm producing 5. Boy, do I want to buy another Shifter's Cloak. No, I think I want to start getting some damage, especially since I've been giving away spells. I did get one back, but start increasing the damage output as well. I guess the other option is I could buy down one of those. And of course, then the other question is, do I want to pass something over? And the answer is, I don't think so. So I'm just going to hang on to the Entangled Tourmaline. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I will spend 2 to focus that. And like I said, I will then go ahead and buy an Aether Ripple, plus I should start buying a bunch of these, because producing more, getting those Aether tokens, that I can then have extra to spend to work on these. So just throw that down there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Probably slide this stuff up a little bit. Just a little bit more in frame. This I can slide up plenty. We'll get to you. Okay. Back to Ilya. That worked out well. It'd be nice if there were like a minion in play for me to attack, but there's not. All right, let me look things over, figure out how I want to approach this. Okay, so I think, especially now that this guy's dealing more damage because of this, let's try and see what happens if we bring Bone down a bit. So we'll deal 2 damage, passing one of these tokens to our allies, and then 3 damage, so a total of 5 damage. We're going to do all of it. to Bone, knocking him down to 38. Hey, look at that. Making progress. It's now 40 to 38, so Bone is lower, and we'll see how that bears out. We'll prep a spark. All right, so now I can use the Shifter's Cloak to prep and open this breach, which allows me to boost it. It's only boosted the first time. I have to boost it twice before I can cast a prep spell, but that's fine. I wouldn't really want to cast a prep spell right now anyway. And then I've got 3 to spend. Yeah, I'm okay. I have strategy. We're gonna go with it. I'll buy another one of these. I got 3 of these right next to each other, but that just means I'll have to get some more breaches open. Keep a Shifter's Cloak on hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that should work. Okay. Slide you up a little bit. Yeah, I guess we have room. Okay. Next up is Myth. So, I like that we get to take some tokens off, and let's see what you got for us, Myth. Ugh, another power. Otherworldly magic. When Bone unleashes, you must choose Gravehold to suffer the damage. That's not a huge deal. Immediately, Myth unleashes twice. Okay. So let's start there. So Myth, if Myth has more life than Bone, Bone gains 3 life. Otherwise, Bone unleashes. So the first effect is going to knock Bone up to 41. And then the next effect is, okay, that's pretty nasty. I have to hit Gravehold, and it's going to be 19 damage. So yeah, we're going to... The honeymoon period is over. And this is power 6. Any player discards 2 cards in hand, add a fire token to your location on the map when we get rid of that. I don't even know if I have enough of these tokens to deal with this. At least not punched out, but I'm sure we can find a substitute if need be. All right, things are getting nasty. We are going to have to address these cards. So let's start with Kel, who's going to be able to deal damage. So let's knock Bone down to 40. I gain a life, which is always good. All right, and go ahead and prep a Split Soul. We will use our crystal to mark this. All right, I've got 3 to spend. So, and the Brimstone Battery to play. Okay. So the question then going to be, do I continue? I think I continue going with these to build up my ability to buy these down. So we'll go ahead. I'll grab one of these with the 3 I've got to spend. For the Brimstone Battery, any player destroys a card in their hand or discard pile. If it costs 3 or more, boost this. You know what? Is it worth at this point? I can still keep it with the crystal. I think I'm not gonna destroy 3. I'm gonna take this opportunity to start doing some deck thinning, and I think I'm gonna do it to Q. So Q gets to destroy a crystal. Okay, and we'll just make sure these come together. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So doesn't matter. But double check. does it for Kel. And the wild turn next up is Bone. Oof. Gibber Mob. Well, we have a target now. Persistent, any player loses 3 charges or Gravehold suffers 5 damage. Those, well, we have to, if we can't lose 3 charges, we have to. The 5 damage is horrible, so I think we are going to need to get some charges built up, and also just have to take this thing down. I've been looking for something to throw damage at, so there's your next card, Bone. In the meantime, all right, so it is going to be key. So, but I do think I want to bring this down first. So we'll bring Bone down to 39. Boy, and I have no spell to cast here. That's... I feel like I did something wrong. Flip the Destroyer token. I do gain 1 and 1 charge. So at least now we're in a position, if this guy triggers, we'll hang on to those charges. Unless I wanted to buy a charge, but I think what I may do is start buying some of these down, or all right, we'll buy the last one of these for 3, and then we'll spend 3 to buy down the Mythic Force. Okay. And that is going to do it for round 5. Yep, everybody's done 5 things. All right. I got one more round in me tonight, then we'll probably take a break, and I will resume this video. There will be no gap for you, but I do want to be fresh. It's getting late in my neck of the woods. Here we go. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so Kel is going to kick things off. If you deal 1 damage, if you're Kel, gain 1. So let's grab one of these as a reminder. We'll do the 1 damage now to the minion. And look over our options. Okay, so for Kel, we'll prep an Aether Ripple. I've got the Shifter's Cloak, so I'm going to prep this breach. It's already fully boosted, so I don't need to worry about trying to open a breach, but that does mean that I also now, because it's already fully boosted, cast any player's prep spell, it deals 1 additional damage, so I'll go ahead and cast this to deal a total of 3 damage to the minion, and allowing me to put out a couple of Aether tokens. Okay. So sorry. Oh God, how long has that been there? See, I try, but okay. So that was the Shifter Cloak. Then I have Nebulous Shard for 2, Crystal for 1, Void Steel Vein. So I've got 5. Plus this is 6. So for 6, I'm just going to buy this down twice. Would not be awful. So you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and grab another Shifter's Cloak. Oh, and that's going to get us down to the ones that are already boosted potentially. Well, I'm less worried about that. The casting spells is with the extra damage is nice, but getting these kicked into gear for future games is really nice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that was Kel. Now it's Q, sorry. All right, no spells to cast, but let me look this over. All right. So again, a little hard to keep you track of 3, so I'm just going to wreck on a little bit. I'm actually going to discard the Void Steel Vein when Kel dealt some damage to just two more to this because I don't need it for what I'm planning on doing this turn. So then I'm going to be able to prep a couple spells. The Oblivion Load is going to be the Builder token, which is 1 Aether plus 1 for the Nemesis level. I double checked the Nemesis level is actually the highest card in play or the discard pile. So we are at Nemesis level 2, so that's going to give us a total of 3 Aether plus crystals 4 plus this is 5. So let's go ahead and grab a Backfire and keep the good spells going. That's it for that. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, next up is going to be Myth. So I didn't buy this down, so that sticks out for another round, but so maybe that was a mistake, especially since I can't buy it down again. All right, I probably should have done that, but we're still trying to build the engine. Obelisk Idol. The player with the most prep spells suffers 2 damage. Add a fire token to your location on the map. 2 and 9. Alright, that's not fun. But they never are. There's Myth's next card. Next turn is Bone. Alright, so now... Alright, so he is going to gain a life when this resolves. Let's double check all these effects. When a player of Gravehold suffers damage during Bone's Unleash, which is not going to happen. When Bone unleashes, which is not going to happen. So, well, it could happen here. But any player loses 3 charges or Gravehold suffers 5 damage. Fortunately, Q has 3 charges. So we will get rid of them. Then we will reveal... the next card, Primeval Huntress. Reduced to 0 all damage dealt to Myth or Bone. So we can't even deal damage until we take this out. Myth unleashes. Add a fire token to your location on the map. So more terribleness. Yeah, I think we need to start clearing out that deck a bit so we can get around to our better spells more quickly. So Kel may need to, not Kel, Q may need to build up some charges. Any player, yeah, so Q can destroy her own cards. Alright, that was Bone. Got a card on deck. I've got a couple turns here to start doing something. Alright, we will spark something. One of these shields, they're all pretty bad. We'll be able to kill this one a little bit faster, so I guess we'll go there. Alright. Prep a Backfire. Prep a Spark. I have just enough to focus this breach and prep another Spark. Well, it's a good setup turn, but I do feel like I'm starting to get behind the 8 ball. Like I'm not ready to deal with these minions the way I should be. Alright, I'm going to finish off with Q. So we've got a Spark. Let's see, we're capable of dealing 4 damage. Still think it makes the most sense for, well, Spark deals 2 damage. So we can deal a total of 5 damage. Let me look at what else we got coming. That may inform my decision here. I think there's just too much unknown. Whoa. Yeah, so this is what happens when I don't actually like pay attention to the screen you're looking at. As you can see, I've got a literal dice tower. This is positioned on, and it blew up a little bit. So sorry for not catching that right away, but we fixed the camera angle for now. It's Q's turn. I was debating where to throw around this damage. I think at this point, there's just too much uncertainty with the potential for things to gain life and whatnot. So I'm just going to throw all 5 onto the thing I know that I'm working on killing, which is, again, it's +1 from here for the spark. So 5 onto the Gibber Mob, and I am going to... Gravehold's going to gain a life. So that finally has yielded some dividends. Took a while. Let's keep Spark down here for the potential. Let's see. Is somebody else going to be able to cast an Aetherable? No. Now would be a great time to have a Shifter's Cloak, but I don't. So I'll just drop this here. And then I need to focus a breach so I can get the Paradigm Flux out. Play the Corrupted Vein, flip the Destroyer token, so it's just going to give me 1 + 1 is 2, which is just enough to focus that. And drop that there. I guess, I don't know why I would want to hang on to that, but actually more likely if I didn't have any shields to deal with, I might keep the Spark there. And also not cycle through my deck as much. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3... 4 or 5 cards drawn, and that is where I am going to take a break, clean things up a bit before we continue tomorrow for me, in just the blink of an eye for you. And we're back. Okay, I've hopefully cleaned up things a little bit better. I don't know how secure the camera is, but we'll try and keep an eye on things in case things start to fall down again. But we are ready to begin round 7. It occurs to me I haven't really made an effort to use Kel's ability that I paid for. So I should probably be trying to get Ilya up to those, being able to cast 4 spells and not necessarily having to use the ability to do it. I also need to get her a couple Nebula shards to take advantage of the fact that I'm able to put more spells out. So... and then, of course, we've got all these minions to deal with, all these powers. We've got our work cut out for us. So let's get things started. There's a 6. So, all right. First up this turn is going to be Bone. Well, at least we'll get that out of the way. That is unfortunate because I was going to be able to kill this. I still will be able to, but now it's going to trigger and gain some life. All right, so... any player loses 3 charges or Gravehold suffers 3 damage. Unfortunately, I don't have charges to do that. Gravehold is actually going to take 4, 1 extra. So that is unfortunate. And this guy is going to heal up 1. Then reduced to 0. We know that. Persistent Myth unleashes. So when Myth unleashes, that's just going to have Bone gain 3 life. Add a fire token. So now we've got 3 fire tokens. Yuck. And that is also going to gain a life. And then we're going to reveal Nash. If Bone has less life than Myth, does not, place the most recently discarded minion in Bone's discard pile into play. Otherwise, any player suffers 5 damage. Great. Alright, so somebody's taken 5 damage. I guess it'll be Kel, and we'll have to hopefully start getting some healing going. That was a pretty rough turn. And sure, why not? Of course, Myth will go next. We will pull these off. And this is going to trigger, which is any player discards a card in hand. When a player at Gravehold suffers damage during Bone's Unleash. So actually, yeah, so Gravehold would not have taken the extra damage. Except this is Gravehold suffers 5 damage, so Gravehold should be at 15. Alright, so with the Mythic Force, any player discards a card in hand. Alright, I gotta figure that out and see who's gonna do what. Alright, I think I'm going to have Ilya discard a crystal, and so that takes care of that. Then this guy, who is going to gain a life. The player with the most prep spells suffers 2 damage. So that is going to be Ilya, and we get another fire token. Not good. And then, as if that weren't enough, we have to reveal another one of these. Alright, spells deal 2 less damage to Boner Myth. Well, I can't deal damage to them anyway. Immediately, Myth unleashes twice. If in the first effect of this card, cross out the name of the nemesis that has higher life and cross out this sentence. Power 5, any player discards 2 cards in hand, add a fire token to your location. Oh, to Bone Myth. Any player discards 2 cards in hand, add a fire token to your location on the map. Alright, so immediately Myth unleashes twice. So let's do that first. So Myth's first unleash is going to trigger Bones Unleash, which is going to be 2 damage to Gravehold or a player. So we'll do 2 damage to Q. Actually, we'll do 2 damage. Yeah, we'll do 2 damage to Q. And then we'll do 2 damage to Gravehold, and things are getting grave. So those are the 2 unleashes. Then we're going to cross out the name of the nemesis that has higher life and cross out this sentence. So we're going to cross out, at this point, Bone. Okay. So I guess when that comes, that's going to look like that. So it's harder to damage Myth. But again, we can't damage anybody right now. Any player discards 2 cards in hand, add a fire token. Fire tokens galore. So that is going to be 5 tokens on there. Yeah, I really need to get things under control here. All right, fortunately, I've got 4 turns in a row now. And I'm sitting on 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 24. I'm sitting on 25 damage that I'm going to be able to do over the course of the next 2 turns if I think I've worked everything out right. So, I'm going to be able to do a bunch of damage. Am I going to be able to take all these out? 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 28, and 2 shields. So no, I'm not going to be able to take out everything, but I will be able to take it out 2 of them. Well, let's see who's going next, and then we'll just start getting to work on it. All right, so Q is going to go first. All right, well, let's start with taking this guy out. He's got 5 health. So, well, first things first, we're going to cast the Paradigm Flux. Remove up to 2 shield tokens from minions, deals 5 damage. Okay, so we will remove 1, 2. I think this guy is the graver threat, dealing damage to players. Then we get to deal 5 damage, so I'll just throw the 5 damage on here. So that is going to take that out. Okay. Then we'll fire this off. So the Aether Ripple is going to deal 2 damage, and these 2 allies will get a token, but because it's on this breach, it's actually going to deal 4 damage. Right? Oh no, plus 1 damage on cast, so it's going to deal 3 damage from that breach. Alright, so we'll do 3 over here. And I will spark this guy for 1 more, knock him down to 6. So that's it for the spells. Now, production-wise, well, we're going to get Backfire down, that's for sure. So I can either produce 3 or 5. I might want to hold on to the Void Steel Vein to have one of these spells do an extra 2 damage. But that's going to require a little calculating, so let me take a look. Okay, first of all, I cast a spell off this breach, so I should have gained a life here. So I'll take care of that. Now, I think I can actually put together enough damage to take out both of these minions. So I'm going to go ahead and just spend all 5. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a charge for Q. And I'm going to spend 3. I think I need a little bit more economy. So we'll put these together for potentially something big. And that's going to be Q's turn. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Next up will be Ilya. The other thing I was going to change, instead of taking, I'm going to take the shield off and I'm going to leave a damage here. So I had the 1 spark that I cast. So instead of hitting that, I'll spark that shield. So that I think will set me up where I need to be. So what I'm going to have Ilya do, knowing that Ilya is going to go again when I draw the wild. So I'm going to spend 4 to do 4 damage to this, knocking it down to 3. Then I'm going to spend a charge to take this into my hand. I will cast both of these sparks, doing 2 damage to this boss, because I'm thinking ahead for how I'm going to divvy out my damage, to this minion. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to prep a douse, which is going to be able to do 3 damage to that. I'm going to prep a backfire, which is going to be able to do 4 damage to that of the 11. In order to prep here, I'm going to need to focus this. So I can do that with the frozen light. So that's 3. So I'll focus this breach, and I'm pretty sure that I have a Shifter's Cloak coming. So I'll be able to open this and cast another spell. So we'll prep the Aether Ripple there. And yeah, I'll be able to deal 6 damage with that. So I think I can make this work. Yeah. Okay. So that's that. I spent the Frozen Light. I'm not trading any cards in this case, obviously, but I will spend 2 to get another charge, so that I can keep the backfire train going. Okay. Now it is, don't know whose turn. It's going to be, all right, it is going to be Kel's turn. So, all right, let's look over the options here. All right, since I'm going to be moving towards building this up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend 3, 4. We will get Kel a douse. Let's keep buying these up, and I'm going to need him to deal these fire tokens, so I'm going to have to buy all of these. And then I will prep Sacred Heart, my life gainer, but I will entangle to trade this Aether Ripple over to Ilya, getting a crystal back. So actually I've got 5. So I could buy this instead of the douse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's do that. Let's keep the damage up. I'll still have an opportunity to get these douses. All right. So it's a pretty simple turn for Kel. 2, 3, 4, 5. And then, all right, so it is the wild, so it is going to be Ilya's turn. All right, so we've still got 3 damage over there. So we cast the douse. That goes in the discard pile. It's going to deal 3 damage to this, which will take it out. For some reason I've got the bone card over here. Okay. Then we will cast Backfire, dealing 4 damage over here. I'll spend a charge to get it back. So 4 damage to this guy is going to knock him down to 7. Then we'll hit him with the Aether Ripple for 2 more. And that's going to generate a couple tokens. Okay. Then we'll prep the backfire again. We'll prep the Aether Ripple. And then I did have the Shifter's Cloak. So what I'm going to do is focus any player's breach. So I'm going to focus and open this one. If that breach is open this way, boost this. So I'm going to go ahead and boost it. If the card is fully boosted, it is now fully boosted. Cast any player's prep spell, it deals an additional damage. This guy's got 5 life. I could cast, maybe I cast the backfire. Actually, before I do that, all right, before I play Shifter's Cloak, I can spend 2 to get a charge. Then, using the Shifter's Cloak, I will cast the backfire. I will spend that charge to put it back in my hand again. Backfire normally deals 4, but because of the Shifter's Cloak, it deals an additional 1 damage, so 5 damage. Takes that out. I can then put the backfire back out, put an Aether Ripple here. That was the Shifter's Cloak. Whew, I think I got that right. So that was a heck of a round. The things you can do when you have unlimited time to plan out and you don't have other people sitting at the table pestering you to just make something up and take a turn. All right, so I don't have a charge to get this back, but I might be able to get her one depending on how things go. I really need to get my hand on some of these because now she's consistently casting at least 3 spells, and hopefully more soon. Okay, that was a pretty wild round. We managed to take out the minions, so now I can start doing damage to get this down. I don't think I'm going to worry about this. As things worked out, I just can't do I do less damage to Myth, but I'm not going to target Myth anyway. This is going to go away. If Bone has less life than Myth, Bone gains 4 life. So hopefully that'll power off before I knock Bone down. And this one, just, yeah, when it unleashes, you have to do the damage to Gravehold. But right now we have no minions, so that's good. That was the end of round 7. Shuffle up. And 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Heading things off is going to be Kel. All right, so definitely going to cast Sacred Heart so I can gain life. So that puts us back up to 3. That is 1 damage to Bone. All right, so I've got some options here. Play the Split Soul, and I do have the ability to bump this up, which I think I might do. So much as I wanted to do deck removal, Gravehold's getting low. I think I need to keep it going. So I am going to go ahead and spend and use this crystal to boost the Brimstone Battery. So that is now fully set. Now I can attach it to any player's breach. When a spell is cast from this breach, if this card is fully boosted, Gravehold gains 1 life. So we will attach it over here to that breach. So that leaves me with 3 to spend. Again, I'm not really too worried about those counters right now. Where are we at in terms of the Tourmaline? Doesn't quite work out to try and pass it over. All right, I think I will go with another Shifter's Cloak. This one's already boosted, but being able to get more of these +1 damages, I think, will make a difference, and also that the timeliness of being able to throw out a spell. Is that a good idea or not? I don't know, but that's what we're going to do. So keep that on top since there's nothing that needs to boost right now. And I can still use it as a regular crystal. No. Oh, wow. 2 more Shifter's Cloak. Okay, maybe I did not need to buy a Shifter's Cloak. I forgot how many of those I had. Okay. Next up is going to be Bone. No minions, so just something nasty. Pound. Bone unleashes twice. So in this case, that's just going to be... boy, I have to take the damage on Gravehold, so that's 4 damage to Gravehold. Any player loses 2 charges. I can't. I guess in that case I do as much as I can, unfortunately. If Bone has less life than Myth, that is not the case. The player with the lowest life suffers 2 damage, and if that player becomes exhausted... Okay, so that's it. That was quite the pounding. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's correct. And that is it for Bone's turn. Then we're going to move over to Wild, so Kel gets to go again. All right, so let me what I want to do damage-wise. I got the double Shifter's Cloak, so might be able to do some interesting stuff. There's no minions out, but where do I want to deal the damage? Let me take a look. Okay, so I'll deal the 1 damage to draw them even. And then we'll drop down an Aether Ripple. I do gain 1 from that, plus 5 from here for a total of 6. So with that 6, I'm actually going to focus this twice, and then I'm Shifter's Cloak, and then Shifter's Cloak to open it. So actually, I can hold off. I can put this here, but now I do get to boost this. Boosting the first time, so I don't get to cast a spell right now because that's only once it's fully boosted. But made some progress. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So that was Kel's second turn. Let's go ahead. All right. So now it is going to be Q. So unfortunately, when this thing goes off, he's going to gain 4 life. So I could just leave this here, but I need to heal Gravehold. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'll do the backfire. I suppose I could hit Myth, but I'm concerned about the unleashes and the damage to Gravehold. So I think I just got to start knocking him down, maybe being aggressive about it. Hopefully the effects aren't too bad. So we'll play Oblivion Load, so flipping the Builder token. So I just gain 1 right now. We'll drop... I did heal, so let's not forget to do that. I'll drop the Dows there, the Spark there. So 1, 2, 3, 4 to spend. At this point... Charges. I was thinking maybe getting a Dows at this point. But I think Q should be in a position to funnel cards and trim. I think that'll do me better in the short run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Before we continue, I did switch around one thing. I was taking a closer look at these, just taking a closer read of everything. And I decided it makes more sense to throw the 4 damage at Myth. It's reduced to 2, so 2 damage. But then at least when this fires off, it's not going to heal. So I think I'm getting a little bit more something out of it. So that said, let's reveal the next. And it is Myth. So we'll take a token off of each. That is going to fire this off. Stoic Judgment. If Bone has less life than Myth, Bone gains 4 life. That is not the case, so discarded without effect. And now, hopefully nothing too bad, but they're all bad, so of course it's going to be bad. When a player or Gravehold suffers damage during Bone's Unleash, they suffer an additional 1 damage. Oh, we've seen that. Immediately, Myth unleashes twice. All right, so if Myth has more life than Bone, Bone gains 2, 3 life. Otherwise, Bone unleashes. Unfortunately, Bone is going to unleash twice. We still have that card out that says we have to choose Gravehold, so and 1 additional damage. So Gravehold is going to take 6. Yikes. Just a bad situation all around. Gravehold is down to 5. This thing stays in play with 6 power tokens. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And when it's discarded, any player discards a card in hand. That, at least, is not terrible. All right. Finishing out the round is going to be Ilya. So at this point, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Don't have a charge. So do I have the card that lets... Don't think I have the card, the gem that lets people get charges during somebody else's turn. I'm not even sure the timing of that, but 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Gravehold does heal from that. So we're going to do all 9 to this guy. And I cast 2 of these, so that's going to give us 2 charges here, 2 charges here, prep a spark and a spark. Got 3 to spend. I do need to get one of these. I should start taking tokens off, but I need one of these to really get things going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't know that I'm going to have the opportunity to do it, though, the way things are going. At least now, maybe we're insulated a couple turns from Bone's Unleash. Of course, the problem is Bone has these effects that are more powerful when he's a lower life, so it's like a double-edged sword. So, all right. Let's begin this round with another 6. And let me just double check. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, and then, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which means it's round 9, which means that should be there. And first up is Q. So, I mean, we're just going for it now. We're going to do 3 damage. Still don't feel like we're ready to start getting rid of fire tokens. That'll come around again. 4 damage, knock him down to 27 for better or for worse. That is going to heal damage. Actually, and that's plus 1 damage. So he's down to 26. We will heal 1 to Gravehold. We'll drop another spark here. Paradigm Flux there. We'll do a Corrupted Vein. Resolve the Destroyer token. So I gain 1 and a charge. So that's going to give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I think what I'm going to do, I could just open this straight up, but yeah, maybe I should, because nobody is currently sitting on any shifter's cloaks. Or I could start working this for more damage. Yeah, I'll focus that for 3, and then so I can put this out, and then I will spend the other 2 to get another charge, and that's all spent. And then any ally draws 2 cards. Any player destroys up to 2 cards in hand or discard pile. So let me see. I'm going to do that now. Let me see how I want this to work out. All right, yeah, so I really want to get things going here. So Ilya, we're going to get rid of 2 crystals from her discard pile. And then Ilya is also going to be the one gaining cards so that I can hopefully get a 4th spell. Which I didn't, but maybe if Kel goes first, I'll be able to pass one over. We will have to see. That's going to be a luck of the draw question. Put that there first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. I mean, everything's low, but I am starting to deal out some pretty good damage. And it's a while, so I don't have to worry just yet about whatever's coming out. So Q will go ahead, And we're just going to keep plugging damage at the boss. So that's 5, 6, 7. Each ally gains a token. That's nice. This is going to do 2. So 8, 9. It's going to heal Gravehold. Put them right in that order. So that's 9 damage, knocking Bone down to 17. No turning back here. I have now put all my effort. I did spend all these charges. There's a backfire. And we've got 5 to spend. So definitely want to get a charge. And honestly, I'm thinking I might just want to get 2 charges at this point. And just really go for it. So we'll do that. Three, 4, 5. This goes over here. All right, Myth is up. Lose a bunch of tokens. And are we into the 3s yet? Not quite yet, but of course, here's an annoying thing to try and distract me from attacking the boss, who's at 17. All right. Myth persistent. Myth unleashes twice. That's not a huge deal. That's just, at this point, just 6 health back to Bone. Or Bone unleashes and any player discards 2 cards. Interesting. So, yeah, I'm not even sure it's worth my time to take this guy down. We'll see. All right. Ilya's up. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I'm just going to focus my attention over here. I mean, I'd have to do 12 damage to this guy, which is basically him activating twice. And I mean, can I kill the boss before that? But you know what? Just realized. All right, I don't have to cast both of these. I'm going to leave one of the sparks out. I do gain 1 from here, so he takes 1 less damage. But yeah, so now, even though I didn't draw a spell, I can go ahead, prep. I will use the Shifter's Cloak to focus that breach, which will allow me to prep to it. This card is fully prepped, so I can now cast a spell. Don't want to cast one of these. Might as well cast this. Get even more of these tokens out. So I'll cast this. It's going to deal 1 extra damage, so 2, 3, 4 damage. Token here, token here. We now have Bone down to 11. That's the Shifter's Cloak. All right. And then I've got 3, 4. Could also discard this during an ally's turn to both gain a charge. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now I got 7 to spend. I mean, I could get one of these. Or I could just get 3 charges and set myself up for next turn. Yeah, I think that's probably what I'm going to do. Yeah, I'll just grab 3 charges. Actually, in that case, I'll hold on to the Frozen Light. Because I could discard it during an ally's turn, and if I do, they gain a charge, you gain a charge. But that takes up an extra slot in my hand just to give somebody else a charge. All right, I'm not going to do that. I will use it. Although having the... I'm just going to get 3 charges. I think that's the way to go. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, especially since now I'm gonna have 4 spells in a row. Maybe I rushed into things, but I feel like we're doing good now. I have a pretty good handle on things, I think. Let's keep going. See what comes next. All right, back to Kel. Kel, whose spells have been taken away, will prep a backfire. All right, so now we've got 1, 2, 3. Well, not necessarily prep a backfire. I've got to think about that for a sec, because it might make more sense to send it over to Ilya, who would then be able to drop down another 4 spells. Cost, yeah, especially now I got the Nebula Shard, which is going to produce 4. So, which will allow me to focus this. So that being the case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, again at this point, like I think I should just be driving in towards trying to get to victory. Timing I think is going to work out because I'll have a bunch of stuff in here, or maybe I'll get 2 things. Oh, and I am going to trade, so I'm actually going to have more than that. Yeah, so first let's do the Tourmaline. I'm going to trade the backfire over here. I'm going to get a crystal. So now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now I can get 4 charges. I'm going to need to get 2 cards into the discard pile somehow in order to make this work. That's a later problem. Right now, let's just get the 4 charges. Potentially, if I have enough production, I could buy a couple cheap things, throw them in the discard pile. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe it might be an effect that makes me discard. We'll see. There's hopefully options and ways of going about it. Okay, and then that does mean it's going to be Bone's turn. All right, do your worst, Bone, or do your tier 2 worst. Bone unleashes twice. Yeah, that's terrible. So Gravehold is going to take 6 damage. Yeah, I should get rid of this so that I can put damage on players. If Bone has less life and myth, it does. Add a fire token to your location on the map. Oh, and we have to read a card from the event deck. I also just realized I'm accelerating to victory and I'm not getting the douses. That's a mistake. Because if I want to get rid of those fire tokens. Okay, maybe shift focus for some other people, but let me go ahead and find card L2E20. Okay, so we have here Restrained. A golden chain dangling from the floating mask whips out, trapping your arms tight to your side. The player with the fewest prep spells, it's going to be Kel, places this card on top of their deck. This card cannot be played, discarded, or destroyed. This card counts against your hand size. While this is in your hand, you may discard 2 prepared spells to return this to the event deck. If you do, read section 54 of the narrative book. Certainly like to be able to do that. So I'll put that on top of Kel's deck. To see if we'll be able to discard 2 prepared spells. Shouldn't be too hard. But will that be our best play? Don't know. But that was the end of that enraging attack. Yeah, I am in a bad way here. I feel like if Bone goes again, then I'm probably going to lose. Because I should have gotten rid of that thing that forced me on to Gravehold earlier, especially with that +1 damage one out. But let's see how it goes. All right, 1, 2. It's Bone, but it's a minion, so okay. We're not dead yet. A Mycelian Titan. Bone persistent. Bone unleashes twice, or any player destroys a prep spell that costs 4 or more, and the breach it was prepped to. And it's got 17 health. And we are up to level 3. Yikes. So, that was that. Oh, forgot to put out another one for Bone, and another one for Myth. Okay, yep, so I confirmed we are on round 10, right? So Ilya will be getting the double turn, which is great, because Ilya is completely set up. And we've already got Bone, so I think I might be able to take Bone out this round, barring anything crazy from here. Although, if this goes off, Bone will gain some life back, so maybe not. We'll see. It's wild. So Ilya will go. All right, now we're going to fire off 4 spells. And Kel will gain a Gemma Relic, which seemed better when I was thinking of aggressively trying to do these. So that ability may end up being not the best decision. But what are you going to do? All right, so I'm not going to worry about either of these guys. We're going to focus on the boss. 1, 2, 3, 4. I will destroy it to get rid of a fire token. 5, 6. Heal Gravehold. 7, 8. My allies gain tokens. It's 8 damage. Yeah, the boss is down to 3. So that's pretty good. And then there's the opportunity to bump this up a bit. So we'll send this over here. And that's going to do it for the beginning of Ilya's turn. I'm going to generate 4 from the Nebula Shard. So I will focus this breach. And then I will drop down a couple backfires, a couple of these. Yeah, the other alternative was I could have fired off her ability and cast even more spells, but that just seems greedy at this point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, next up is going to be Kel, who cannot do any damage. Which is, well, actually, that is not true. Maybe I can work this out. Let me take a look and see. Okay, so much as I would like to be able to kind of slow play things and get rid of some of those fire tokens, the risk is too great. I feel like Gravehold's down to 4 damage. I can get it, and healing it requires doing damage anyway. Maybe I'd like to see what happens if you kill Myth instead of Bone, but that's not... that could happen. Like, I'm at a point now where I'm doing so much damage so fast, it probably wouldn't take me many turns, if I had shifted my focus to take out Myth. All that said, although I've still got the card out that cuts Myth's damage down by 2. So all that said, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to end it with the victory. I'm going to go ahead and play the Brimstone Battery. I'm going to use it to destroy a card in hand or discard pile that costs 3 or more. So here, we'll destroy Shifter's Cloak. That's going to allow me to boost this. So get us one step of the way. I'm then going to use a Shifter's Cloak to focus a breach. Doesn't really matter. It's fully boosted. I can cast any player's spell. So I will cast the Aether Ripple, which will do 2 + 1 + actually do 4 damage, and that will kill Bone, as Myth is just stuck to watch on, helplessly unable to do anything. I could have a bunch to spend if I wanted to. Again, don't really think it makes a difference. So, hey, look at that. We did it. As per usual, you just got to spend that time building up, getting your economy going, getting your spells. Don't worry about the boss's health, because when you get it going, you should be able to do a lot of damage. If you're not getting to a point where you've got a mage who can cast 3 or 4 spells at this point in the game, by the time 3 is revealed, then you're doing something wrong. If you're spending a lot of time, like, the abilities are fun. You know, they can be very powerful, but in most of the mages I've played with, most of the games I've seen, and not always, sometimes it does really make sense. An ability is so good to just focus on it. I think if I had done that with Q, I could have built up my economy. So it's certainly another direction I could have done. These abilities are both very situational. So rather than just continually putting charges out, just really always working, building up your economy, trying to get to that point where, you know, and occasionally getting the breaches open so that once you have that point, you have a place to put them. You know, seems to work well no matter what weird shenanigans the Nemesis throws at you. But I'm gonna go check out the epilogue for this and see what other results of the end game are. Probably gonna not get as much experience having to deal with 4 fire tokens, but hopefully safely enough that it's not gonna cost me any cards. I'll find out, and I'll be back in a moment. All right, so I've gone through all of the end game stuff. I picked up 12 experience, so now I've got 13 total, 4 per player. That was it. If I had managed to get 2 or fewer fire tokens again, I would have gotten a card. I took a peek. That would have helped me out at the beginning of next game, a little bit more life. So wasn't more experience this time. So I didn't lose that too much, although I did have to mark on the map that there are 4 fire tokens in the location. So that may come into play. Also, having defeated Bone, I ended up putting Myth down here, sticker on the map, and if it had gone the other way, if I defeated Myth, I would have put down Bone. So maybe some point later we'll figure out what that is. Story-wise, having saved the villagers, we then found out that there was... we then happened upon 2 more mages who were going to work with our cause. I guess these are probably also mages from the past, new to me because I haven't played that much Aeon's End. Just, like I said, just the Legacy and some of the base game. But we've got Razra and Thraxir, which look pretty interesting. Razra actually has a pet, some kind of dinosaur type thing that starts out with cards in her deck that are pretty basic, but just gain a charge, but there's a mechanic that allows you to bump those up, and eventually they get more powerful, going all the way up to 9 values. So her ability, which costs 4 charges, is to level up your pet cards or to get that back into your hand. So that's Razra. And then we've got Thrax here, who has an interesting backstory. Was like, spent a lot of time in the void. I guess it turned into him nameless, but is now turning back. And he's got a special breach that when you cast focuses other people's breaches. Also cleansing quartz. If you have focused or open a breach this turn, gain a spell that costs 4 or less from the supply. So 2 more mages. So we've now got 8 different mages to choose from. So maybe next game I'll try the 4 I haven't tried yet. Also ended up getting a few more upgraded basic cards, which will be added to the mix for the Nemesis deck. And then once again, 4 new supply cards with a new mechanic. So we got the Starglass, gain 2 or Conjure. So when you conjure, you take the top card of your deck, put it in an open or focused breach, and then it's treated as a spell. And you can look at the card, and if it's something that you don't want to lose to the top of your deck, then you can, or something you want to keep on top of your deck, you can do that too. But so that is pretty interesting. Then we've also got a spell with the Conjure ability, Galvanize. While prepped once during your main phase, you may conjure. Cast, deal 2 damage. Actually, I think that one looks pretty good. basically 4 damage for 3. Also like the idea of potentially going through your deck more quickly. And again, if you're careful about it, you'll know which card is going to be on top. Martyr's Bone, focus one of your breachers or conjure. You may lose 1 charge to do both. And last but not least, we have another spell. 6 coster Temporal Strike. While prepped, when you cast a spell that costs 2 or less, it deals 1 additional damage, and you may return it to your hand and cast deal 4 damage. So more options to mix things up next time around. I got a bunch of, these are all the upgrade abilities I had before. Now I've got some new ones to add to the mix. As the story goes, now there's a concern that there's something going on at the outpost, so we're going to go check that out. I imagine if I'd gone to the outpost first, then they would have maybe sent me to the Fane. Who knows? But that'll be the next game, and we'll dive into that in the next session. But for now, thanks for watching, and until next time.